Imagine for a moment that you're in a situation where you've clearly expressed how you feel about something. Maybe it's as simple as saying you don't want to go somewhere, or maybe it's as serious as saying you don't feel comfortable with a particular kind of behavior. A man who genuinely values you will pause, take that in, and make an adjustment. He'll show you through his actions that your comfort matters as much as his desires. But when someone constantly disregards your boundaries, when he brushes off what you say with a laugh, when he tells you you're overreacting, or worse, when he keeps pressing after you've already said no, that's the clearest sign you need to walk away. Because the truth is, boundaries are not negotiable. They are the framework that defines how you deserve to be treated. And if he can't respect them, he's showing you he doesn't respect you. It might not always show up in big, dramatic ways at first. Sometimes it starts small, like when you tell him you're tired and you'd rather stay in tonight, but he insists and pushes until you give in. Or when you tell him you're not ready to share something deeply personal, but he keeps nudging and poking, making it seem like you're being difficult if you don't comply. Those little dismissals of your boundaries are actually big red flags, because what they reveal is not just impatience, but a mindset that says, what I want is more important than how you feel. That mindset is toxic and it will grow over time. And here's the part that's hard to accept. Many people excuse this behavior in the beginning. They tell themselves, maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe he's just passionate. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. But the moment you start justifying disrespect is the moment you begin training yourself to tolerate it. Every time you let someone cross a boundary unchecked, you send the signal that it's okay to keep doing it. And if he's the kind of person who feels entitled to your time, your body, your energy, he will continue pushing until there's nothing left of the standards you once had. Think about this. A man who truly cares about you will never need to be convinced to respect your limits. He won't see your boundaries as an obstacle to overcome, but as a guide that tells him how to love you properly. If he gets frustrated when you say no, that's not passion, it's entitlement. If he ignores your discomfort, that's not love, it's control. Love thrives on mutual respect, and the moment respect is missing, the entire foundation of the relationship becomes shaky. Walking away might feel difficult because sometimes the same person who disrespects your boundaries is also the one who showers you with attention in other moments. That push and pull can be addictive, but don't confuse intensity with love. A man who only listens when it suits him, who only honors your feelings when it benefits him, is not giving you real commitment. He's giving you conditional respect, and that's never enough. Your boundaries are not walls keeping love out. They are doors that decide who gets to enter your life and how they treat you once they're inside. If a man keeps banging on those doors, trying to force his way past them, he's not proving how much he wants you. He's proving he doesn't deserve you. The right person will hear no and honor it without making you feel guilty, without punishing you for standing firm, and without trying to twist your words into an invitation to push harder. So when you see the signs, when he laughs off your discomfort, when he ignores your words, when he makes you second guess your right to say no, that's your cue. That's the moment you remind yourself that respect is non-negotiable. And if he can't give it, you owe it to yourself to walk away immediately. Because the truth is, it's not your job to teach someone how to respect you. It's your job to uphold your standards until you find the one who naturally does. There's a difference between someone being genuinely busy and someone playing games with communication, and you can feel it. When a man is interested and intentional, even in the busiest seasons of his life, he finds a way to let you know where you stand. It doesn't take long messages or grand gestures. Sometimes it's just a simple thinking of you, or a quick call to say he'll catch up later. But when a man constantly disappears, goes silent for days, then reappears out of nowhere like nothing happened, That's not business, that's strategy. It's a pattern designed to keep you guessing, to make you feel uncertain, and to pull you into a cycle where you're always chasing the next moment of attention. What makes this especially dangerous is how easy it is to confuse inconsistency with mystery. In the beginning, when he's hot and cold, you might tell yourself he's just complicated, or that he needs space, or that he's not great at expressing himself. But the truth is, communication is never really about convenience, it's about priority. And if you're a priority, you'll never be left wondering where you stand. The second you find yourself obsessively checking your phone, reading the last message to see if you said something wrong, or justifying why he hasn't replied, you're already in the trap. His silence has become a form of control, making you do the emotional work of holding the connection together while he gets to come and go as he pleases. Sometimes he'll sprinkle in just enough attention to keep you hooked. Maybe it's a late night message. Maybe it's an emoji that makes your heart race. Maybe it's a sudden burst of affection after days of distance. And in those moments, you feel relief, even excitement, like you've won something back. But that high never lasts, and before long, the silence returns. What you don't realize is that this pattern isn't accidental. It creates dependency. The inconsistency makes you crave the scraps of communication he does give. And soon you start settling for less than you deserve, convincing yourself that a breadcrumb of attention is enough. A man who plays games with communication isn't looking for a real relationship. He's looking for control without commitment. He wants the benefits of your affection, your time, your energy, without the responsibility of showing up consistently. And here's the hard truth: if he only reaches out when it benefits him, when he's bored, when he's lonely, when he wants validation, that's not connection, that's convenience. Love doesn't operate on convenience, it operates on care. Think of it this way: consistency is the language of love, and inconsistency is the language of manipulation. When someone truly values you, they don't leave you hanging, they don't make you feel like you're begging for scraps of their time. They show up, not perfectly, but reliably, because they know that reliability builds trust, and trust is the heartbeat of a healthy relationship. Without it, you're left in a state of constant uncertainty, questioning your worth and wondering if you're asking for too much when all you're really asking for is the bare minimum of respect. The right man will not make you decode mixed signals. He won't make you wait for days to feel seen, and he won't leave you anxious about whether you matter. He'll make it clear through steady actions that you're not just an option he fits into his schedule, but a person he's building something with. And if you're not getting that, if you feel like you're constantly guessing, constantly waiting, constantly unsettled, then you already have your answer. That's the moment to walk away, because communication isn't just about words, it's about intention. And if his intention isn't clear, then neither is his commitment. One of the clearest signs that you need to walk away from a man is when he belittles you, even in subtle ways. Respect isn't only about the big gestures or the obvious actions, it's woven into the everyday words and tones he uses with you. If he constantly makes little comments that chip away at your confidence, if he dismisses your opinions, or makes jokes at your expense, and then says you're being too sensitive when you call him out, that's not harmless teasing, that's a lack of respect. And once respect starts to erode, no amount of chemistry, passion, or history can make the relationship healthy. It doesn't always start with outright insults. Sometimes it's disguised as humor, the kind of playful banter that leaves you questioning if you should laugh or if you should feel hurt. Maybe you share an idea and he smirks, saying, "That's cute." Maybe you're proud of something you achieved and he downplays it with, "That's not a big deal. Anyone could have done that." Over time, those little moments accumulate and you find yourself doubting your own accomplishments, silencing your own voice, and shrinking yourself just to avoid the sting of his words. That's not love. It's slow, quiet erosion of your self-worth. What makes it even more confusing is that men who do this often wrap their words in charm. One moment he's showering you with affection. The next he's sliding in a comment that makes you feel small. And because you've had the highs, you start to minimize the lows. You tell yourself he doesn't really mean it, that maybe you are being too sensitive or that it's just his way of joking. But here's the reality. Someone who loves you doesn't joke at your expense. They don't use sarcasm as a weapon or treat your feelings as a punchline. They lift you up instead of dragging you down. A man who belittles you is showing his insecurity. People who feel small often try to make others smaller, just to feel big in comparison. And while you can empathize with his struggles, it's not your job to sacrifice your dignity to soothe his ego. A healthy partner celebrates your strengths, respects your differences, and makes space for your voice, even when he doesn't agree with you. If he's constantly undermining you, that's not a relationship. It's a power imbalance. Think about how you feel after spending time with him. Do you leave the conversation feeling encouraged, supported, and seen? Or do you walk away with a knot in your stomach, replaying his words and wondering if you're good enough? That emotional pattern tells you everything you need to know. The right person doesn't leave you second, guessing yourself. They help you see more clearly who you are and what you're capable of. It's tempting to try to prove yourself when someone puts you down, to fight harder for their approval, or to show them they're wrong about you. But that only keeps you stuck in a cycle where his validation becomes the prize you're chasing, instead of realizing that your worth was never up for debate in the first place. You don't need to convince someone to see your value. You need to choose someone who already does. So if you notice the belittling, if you feel smaller around him than you do on your own, if his words are making you doubt the very things you should be proud of, that's not something to tolerate. That's your signal to walk away. Because the man who deserves you will never make you question your value. He'll remind you of it every single day. One of the most dangerous patterns you can overlook in a relationship is when a man avoids responsibility. At first, it might seem small. He forgets to do something he promised and quickly blames being busy, or he misses an important date and makes excuses instead of owning it. But over time, you begin to notice a pattern. Nothing is ever his fault. When something goes wrong, he shifts the blame onto someone else, or worse, onto you. Suddenly you're the one apologizing for his mistakes, carrying the weight of problems he created, and feeling guilty for things that were never yours to own. That's not just immaturity, that's manipulation. A man who avoids responsibility will always find a way to make himself the victim. If he snaps at you, he'll say it's because you pushed him. If he lies, he'll justify it by claiming you have overreacted to the truth. If he disappears for days, he'll twist it so you feel guilty for expecting too much. And little by little, you begin to doubt yourself. You start thinking, maybe you are too demanding, maybe you are overreacting, maybe you should have done something differently. That's exactly what someone who refuses accountability wants. You questioning yourself so you stop questioning him. Here's the truth. Mistakes happen in every relationship. No one is perfect. But what separates a man worth keeping from a man you need to walk away from is how he handles those mistakes. A healthy partner doesn't pretend they didn't mess up, they don't shift blame, and they don't punish you for bringing it up. Instead, they take a breath, acknowledge what they did wrong, and try to make it right. That's what responsibility looks like. It's not perfection, it's ownership. When a man avoids responsibility, what he's really showing you is that he's not ready for partnership. Because partnership requires accountability. It requires two people who are willing to look in the mirror and ask, what can I do better? How can I grow? How can I contribute to making this relationship stronger? Without that mindset, you'll always feel like you're carrying the relationship on your own. You'll be the one doing the emotional heavy lifting, constantly smoothing things over, constantly repairing the cracks, while he keeps walking away from the mess he creates. And here's what's even more dangerous. A man who refuses accountability will often flip the script so that you start apologizing for even bringing up an issue. You'll hear things like, "You're too sensitive," or "Why do you always have to make a big deal out of nothing?" These are not just excuses, they're tactics to silence you. They're designed to make you second guess your right to hold him accountable. Over time, you start shrinking your voice, keeping quiet just to avoid the conflict. But silence doesn't solve the problem, it only empowers it. Think about the kind of relationship you want. Do you want to feel like a teammate where both of you own up to mistakes and grow together? Or do you want to feel like a caretaker, constantly fixing, excusing, and carrying someone who refuses to grow? The answer should be clear. If he avoids responsibility, you're not in a partnership, you're in a cycle, and cycles like that don't end until you decide to break them. So when you see the signs, when he never apologizes sincerely, when he constantly blames you, when every conversation leaves you carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you, that's not something to work harder to fix. That's your signal to walk away, because the man who is truly right for you won't run from responsibility. He'll embrace it. He'll know that accountability doesn't weaken love, it strengthens it. And anything less than that isn't worth your time. One of the easiest traps to fall into is believing that love is about intensity, when in reality it's about consistency. In the early days, it can feel exciting when a man sweeps you off your feet with grand gestures, sudden bursts of affection, or passionate declarations that make you feel like you're the center of his world. But what really reveals his intentions is not how high the highs are, it's how steady the effort remains over time. If his energy feels like a roller coaster, one day he's all in, the next he's distant. That inconsistency isn't romance, it's a red flag. Because a man who truly cares doesn't just show up when it's convenient. He shows up consistently, even in the small, everyday ways that matter most. Inconsistent effort leaves you guessing. You find yourself replaying every conversation, wondering why he was so affectionate yesterday and so cold today. You start adjusting your own behavior, trying to figure out what you did wrong or how you can get him back to that version of himself who made you feel so special. But the truth is, inconsistency isn't about you, it's about him. A man who is genuinely invested will never make you question where you stand. His words and his actions will align, and they'll align over and over again, not just when it suits him. What makes inconsistency so damaging is the emotional toll it takes. When his effort comes in waves, you're constantly caught in between anticipation and disappointment. The highs feel intoxicating because they're rare, and you cling to them, telling yourself, this is proof that he cares. But the lows leave you anxious, insecure, and desperate for the next moment of attention. That cycle can become addictive because you start measuring love not by steady care, but by the thrill of finally getting his affection after being starved of it. That's not love, that's emotional manipulation, whether he's doing it consciously or not. A healthy relationship is built on reliability. It doesn't mean things are always exciting, but it does mean you always know where you stand. You don't have to wonder if he'll call. You don't have to guess if he's going to show up. And you don't have to fight for his attention. The right man doesn't leave you hanging or make you compete with his mood swings. He proves through his consistency that you are not an afterthought. You are a priority. When a man's effort is inconsistent, it's often because he's not truly invested. Maybe he enjoys the thrill of the chase, but loses interest once he has your attention. Maybe he wants the benefits of companionship without the responsibility of commitment. Maybe he's keeping his options open and only shows up when it's convenient for him. Whatever the reason, none of it justifies leaving you in a constant state of uncertainty. You deserve someone who chooses you every day, not someone who treats your heart like a part-time project. Think about how it feels when someone is steady. There's a peace that comes with consistency. You don't question their love because it's proven in the little things. The check in text, the follow through on a promise, the way they remember what matters to you. Consistency builds trust, and trust is what allows love to deepen. Without consistency, all you have is chaos dressed up as passion. So if you find yourself holding on to the highs while ignoring the lows, remind yourself of this: real love doesn't need to be rescued by occasional grand gestures. Real love shows up in the everyday. And if his effort feels like a guessing game, if you're never sure which version of him you're going to get, that's not stability, that's confusion. And confusion is not the foundation of a healthy relationship. When his effort is inconsistent, that's not a sign to try harder, it's a sign to walk away. One of the most painful realities in a relationship is when the person you're with makes you doubt your own worth. At the beginning, you may feel seen, desired, even cherished. But over time, his actions or words start leaving you with a quiet ache inside, a nagging sense that you're not enough. Maybe he compares you to other people in subtle ways. Maybe he withholds affection when you need it most. Or maybe simply never acknowledges the effort you put in. The result is the same. You start questioning yourself, wondering if you should be prettier, smarter, funnier, more laid back, less emotional, anything other than who you are right now. That spiral is the clearest signal that this relationship is not building you up, it's tearing you down. Love is supposed to bring security, not insecurity. The right man will never weaponize your vulnerabilities against you. He won't use silence to punish you. He won't withhold reassurance just to keep you on edge. And he won't make you feel like you're competing for his attention. When someone makes you feel constantly anxious about where you stand, it's not because you're difficult. It's because they're not offering you the consistency and respect you deserve. A man who values you won't let you lie awake at night wondering if you matter to him. He'll make sure you never have to question it. The tragedy is that when someone makes you doubt your worth, you often end up working harder to prove it. You become more giving, more accommodating, more forgiving, hoping that if you just do enough, he'll finally see your value. But that's a losing battle. You cannot earn from someone else what you already possess within yourself. Your worth isn't up for negotiation. It's not something he grants or denies. It's something you already have, and the right man will recognize it without you having to beg for acknowledgement. When you're with someone who makes you feel small, you start to notice the way your confidence fades in other areas too. You hesitate to speak up at work. You second-guess your choices. You stop celebrating your own achievements because in the back of your mind, there's this voice that whispers, "It's not enough." That voice isn't yours, it's the echo of his disrespect. And once you realize that, you also realize you don't have to keep living under its weight. A healthy relationship is one where you feel more like yourself, not less. You should feel freer, lighter, more empowered, not constantly anxious, drained, or diminished. The right man won't just tolerate your uniqueness, he'll celebrate it. He'll encourage your growth, not resent it. He'll remind you of your strengths, not highlight your flaws. If the opposite is happening, if your time with him leaves you questioning your own value, then the relationship is already telling you everything you need to know. The hardest part is walking away when your heart still wants to stay. But here's the truth: if he makes you doubt your worth, staying will only deepen the wound. Every day you spend in that environment is another day reinforcing the lie that you're not enough. But the moment you choose to walk away, you reclaim your voice, your confidence, and your power. You send a message to yourself that you will no longer accept love that costs you your self-respect. Because love should never feel like a constant test of your value. Love should feel like home. And if being with him makes you feel unworthy, anxious, or invisible, then that's not home, it's a prison. And the only way forward is to walk away immediately, so you can create space for the kind of love that reminds you every single day of who you are and how much you deserve.